Hello, everyone. It is great to talk to you again. This is what the banner or opening headline should read in big bold letters and plastered in every corridor and hall, in every locker room wall, and maybe even on each locker of the Boilers. Rutgers basketball beat Purdue in 2020 at Mackey Arena. Yes, remember, at Mackey? They again beat Purdue in 2021 when Purdue was ranked, yep, number one in the country. So that is something that might be plastered on every wall, I think. Now, if that is not enough motivation for you, then listen to what one of Rutgers' best players, Caleb McConnell, had to say on what he would tell new players about coming to Purdue. I can tell these guys that Purdue can definitely be beat, McConnell said. This is the same team we beat last year. Even though we won on a buzzer beater, we beat those guys. I can tell those guys Purdue is beatable, just like any other Big Ten team we play. McConnell is a man who has done it, not once, but twice, beaten Purdue. Now, I love his spirit, but fodder for motivation has never been better. Assuming you are paying attention, that is. And by paying attention, I mean the Boilermaker basketball team. It's time to wake up, boys or men, and see what every single team and game this year will think of you, because that's what they're going to think. Yes, you are beatable. Now, the question is, what are you going to do to stop it? Now, I don't want you to think that McConnell's this weird guy, though, but I do want to pass on to you because he said things that other people say. He did have many great things to say about the Purdue program, the coaching staff, the players, along with the utmost regard for Mackey Arena, calling it possibly the hardest place to play in the Big Ten, if not the country. So he had a lot of great platitudes, too, but he did put up some fodder there, didn't he? Okay, so one funny little comment, but not really meant that way from McConnell, was that he thought their big was as good as Ziti. Yes, Zach Edey, Ziti. Yes, feeling love for his guy, we all can understand that. But no, not a player of the year candidate. Well, enough of the prelims. Let's get to the numbers about the Scarlet Knights. They are 9-4 with a great win over Ken Palm's number 18 Indiana. They're averaging about 73 per game offensively and giving up a phenomenal 54.5 a game against. Their opponents are not scoring much, although their opponents haven't been that strong. So speaking of Ken Palm, let's hit the team numbers and the full rankings for the Scarlet Knights. Currently, Rutgers is 19th in the country total team-wise. That's not bad. We're talking Team 1 or Tier 1 now when we start looking at brackets later in the season. So, a strong opponent to say the least, and it would be great win numbers-wise toward ratings and rankings as the season goes on for either team. Now, nearly all their power is based on its defense, though. Now, that's great. We all love it, right? They are the number 3 defense in the country. So being the number 3 defense in the country, then questions start to pop up. And one is, so then can Ziti produce against 3 rotated guys and 15 fouls? That will be the defense until Purdue starts stroking the 3 ball again that Purdue is going to see every single night. They are going to try to smother him, and as I like to say, hack and shack, but we're going to have to come up with something like hack and Ziti, mess with Ziti. I don't know. You will come up with something. Now, where Rutgers fans might worry, though, is their strength of schedule. It is way down at 246. They have some solid wins, especially that win over Indiana on December 3rd and one over Wake Forest. But on the other hand, they seem to be blowing out the bad teams. I mean, by like 40 points, 50 points. This is kind of crazy stuff. Gets those numbers up there, and they're holding their defenses down on really bad teams. So the bad teams are struggling a bit. Against the stronger teams, though, Rutgers is really starting to struggle. So really good against the bad teams, struggling against the good teams, but still in the mix. Flip side, though, is they have not been blown out themselves in their losses. All that being said, the number 3 defense in the country can beat anyone. When you start looking at the Ken Palm numbers for their offense, they're down at 131. Okay, not great, but it's doable, right? They're scoring like 75 a game. They shoot the 3, though, even worse than Purdue at a 307 clip, but are not taking as many shots, averaging around 18 or so a night. But I seem to remember on a video that a ton of these threes were going down and being made by a man named Spencer this season. Yes, he's shooting a 433 clip, so somebody to focus on. When you hold them below an entire team shooting of 373, that's a score of where they've been. They're at 1-3, 1 win, 3 losses. That only win came against a UMass Lowell team. Yeah, I hadn't heard of them either. Meanwhile, let's compare the Scarlet Knights' numbers to Purdue's. Purdue is the number 6 Ken Palm rated team in the country, with the number 5 offensively minded squad and the number 25 defensively minded squad. A good pairing right there, right? Barring one team finding and exploiting the other's weaknesses way better than the other team adjusts, or of course, one team just shooting terribly on a given night, Monday night, this should be a lower scoring, tough-nosed game, just like they're all going to be the remainder of the season as we push farther and farther into the Big Ten slate of play. As you would expect, there's a core on this team, and the 3 dudes seem to be the offensive engine. They would be these guys that make the team run, right? The Rutgers team run is transfer Caleb McConnell and Cam Spencer. I've mentioned both of those already, at least briefly. But the third is Clifford Omari. He might be the best in a bunch of the 3 really good players they have. He's a seasoned post player. He's a great rebounder and defender. He is averaging 15 points and 10 rebounds a night and has like 5 double-doubles this season already. This matchup between him and Ziti will be a good one. Now, I've watched some film on the Scarlet Knights, and having watched these guys on the fast break, defensively, and moving the ball, you can see some really good things going on with this core of players. I could easily see younger players rallying around these guys. They're offensive, they're quick to the ball, they're tough-nosed when it comes to the defense, and they're just athletic as a team itself. That could be problems for any kind of teams. So, for the Boilermakers, you're playing an opponent who has beaten you in the past few years when they shouldn't have. Okay, numbers-wise, anyway, they shouldn't have, and it's saying it again, possibly, that you're the much better, superior team. Now you just have to show up and do it. So, I have a small list of questions to be asked. First up, and of course I call it that because I'm wondering if First and likewise TKR are going to be the wheel that runs this bus if other attributes are taken away. We've seen a bit of that lately. I love what I have seen from them lately in the flow of the entire game, in what looked good around them defensively, hard-nosed play, rebounds. The whole thing is there for them, and they are starting to push forward as we get into the Big Ten. This is great for those guys. That ZD flu stint, I still believe will help these guys the most by putting them on the table as an offensive option anytime needed. And it's obvious they both can score easily, as do many of the Purdue players when needed. Now, they know they can score anytime Coach Painter calls their number for the rest of the Big Ten season. Let's hope they put that into play. Now, this is going to be a big question every night with some of the defenses. Can ZD get his and distribute as he normally does? You know, last year, each of the big men on both teams played well against each other. ZD has taken it to the next level, though, in all aspects of his game this year. But 2, 3, even 4 guys smothering somebody, it can lead to frustration. He does distribute when covered with ease. Now the Boilers shooters need to make the open shots when it seems to be plentiful, right? And very easy shots a lot of times. There have been a lot of open shots. ZD has a great mindset from what we see on our screens. And that makes me think he will be very good the rest of this season, no matter how many people are trying to cover him. Now, with that said, should we expect ZD to put up 20 and 12 every night against much better opponents? Absolutely not is the short answer, right? But on those tough nights, be the anchor everyone knows you are. Still rebound. Still swat balls into the stands. Still be a force when the force is not at peak performance. Here's another question to be answered. Can the furious freshman keep improving and keep making great decisions? You know, Lawyer and Smith look wise, tough, and capable beyond their years so far. But the season is long. You know, lately, I have said this in the past, I feel like the last couple of games, Lawyer has been a bit off. Maybe he's tired, maybe he's been a little sick, it's hard to say. But then Smith seems to rise up when Lawyer's down. What I can say is both are not needed every single night, but at least one of them is. I'll toss it up. They can choose. My guess is they would choose both of them to rise every single night till that last buzzer sounds. This next question is the elephant in the room. Will Purdue find a way to adjust if they are not hitting the three ball and or ZD is getting double and triple teamed? It seems like they are starting to understand that First and TKR, Gillis, and Newman are more than just role players on a great team. They are good to great players on a great team. This bodes well for changes to how the team scores when needed in the future. When we're getting frustrated, when they're starting to push it and the Boilermakers are really struggling to find a way to score, there are other options. So when you're looking at information on this kind of thing, you look at a lot of videos, right? And on a side note, it looks like much of the country doesn't think Purdue should be number one. Podcasts, stories fill the mind with much better teams. Oh, they throw platitudes around about them, Purdue that is, and then they say, but you know, UConn and Zona and Bama. Meanwhile, they lavish these teams with the exact same characteristics Purdue seems to have. But somehow, Purdue is not worthy. Keep it up, sports world, but be careful what you wish for. Motivation can come from many pieces, but tell a team they are not worthy, and they will ask you to come knock this battery off this shoulder. Yeah, it's an old Pappy Boynton, i.e. Robert Conrad commercial from the 70s, but it rings true about the chip. The sports world is littered with teams other people thought were better than yours or other teams. So, in closing, I like what I see from these men. They've been playing hard. Aggressiveness offensively is starting to show up when the shots are not falling from deep. Defense never leaves, and hard-nosed smart play seems to thrive on this team. Now, the Big Ten season is long. It's 2-0. It sounds great, doesn't it? But 3-0 sounds better, and 4-0, then 5-0. Yeah, you get the thing. Well, that's it. Hopefully the game tomorrow night goes just as planned, and Purdue wins a hard-fought battle. That's it for now. See you next time.
Shut up and sit down.